Welcome back everyone. In this guide we'll be taking down the General of the North Ai Nengqi. And I'll be honest, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but make no mistake, he's one of the most aggressive early to mid game bosses in Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Although he seems human, Ai Nengqi is massive and can't be staggered with simple charge back attacks. This is a fight you'll need to approach the traditional way, by carefully avoiding his attack strings and punishing his longer recovery animation. The key here is patience and spacing. There are several punish opportunities to watch for and we'll go through every one of them, but these two are my absolute favorites. The first is his 5-blade combo after the scream. If you stay near his back, you can avoid the entire chain and attack freely for the duration. This is one of the largest punish windows in the fight and easily the safest place to deal heavy damage. The second comes from his bow attacks. As soon as he starts preparing them, sprint forward and dodge through the arrows and move to his side or back. This consistently puts you in position to punish while also avoiding the explosion that follow. To make things easier, bring along poise-breaking tools like the poise-break needle. Building poise damage can stagger him and create another free punish window. If survivability is more of a concern, the leech needle is a fantastic alternative since it lets you heal while attacking. And don't forget, using clashes against the sword strikes not only builds poise damage but also heals on success and grants skyborne might, giving you sustain and an offensive edge at the same time. For weapons, anything with high raw damage will chunk his health down quickly, but if you really want to melt this boss, check out my god tier dual blade builds, linked in the card above. That setup absolutely shuts Ai Nengqi and will carry you through many other encounters as well. If this video helps you out, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's break down Ai Nengqi's full moveset so you'll know exactly how to avoid damage and when to strike back. As soon as you step into the arena, Ai Nengqi will always open with a leaping strike. It's quick, but a simple dodge or shimmer as the game calls it will completely avoid it. This also gives you a small window to land a couple of hits, so you'll want to keep it tight. From time to time you'll also use the same jump attack if you create too much distance. So just follow the same dodge timing as he is about to land. Almost every time after the opener he'll transition straight into his bow attacks. Now, his bow patterns come in two versions, one from the ground and one from the air. Starting with the grounded version, he'll spin back and unleash a volley of arrows. The key here is to dodge exactly when the arrows leave the bow. If you go too early or too late, you'll get clipped. After the volley, he'll usually follow with one or two single shots or sometimes another multi-arrow attack. And you want to use the exact same dodge timing for each. Be careful though, because every arrow will explode a second after it lands, so don't stick around in the blast zone. Once you avoided the volleys, that's your chance to sprint in, close the gap and get to his side or back for some free damage. The second version is his aerial bow attack. For this, Ai Nengqi will draw his sword from his back, twist and hold it upright in his left hand before slamming it downward. That overhead slash has a noticeable delay, so either back off or dodge as the blade starts to come down. The slam launches him into the air, where he'll fire a sequence of arrows before landing and firing a couple more. Just like before, dodge right when the arrows leave the bow. Wuchang favors slightly early inputs, so pressing a air land before impact will still give you a clean room. Once he lands and finishes the follow-ups, you'll have a small window to punish safely before he starts his next chain. And remember, these bow attacks are some of the biggest punish windows in the fight. As soon as you see him start drawing that bow, sprint straight toward him, dodge through the arrows and start hacking away. This is where you'll land the most consistent damage across both phases. Next up is his ice ground launch. For this, Ai Nengqi digs his right hand deep into the ground and sends 3 jagged lines of ice spiking forward. The key here is not to dodge too early. Wait until you actually see the ice approaching you, then shimmer through it. If you are able to step out of the line entirely, that's great, but if you are still caught in its path, be ready for a second dodge to avoid the blast when the ice erupts. Now, both his ice attack and the jump attack we looked at earlier are moves he uses frequently, but with the jump, he'll often chain it into 3 follow-ups. Starting with the 2-hit combo, after the initial landing and hand stomp, he'll take a quick step forward and swing in a wide arc that can cover nearly 180 degrees. The important thing here is not to panic, there's a slight delay before the slash actually comes out. Wait until you see the sword clearly coming from his left side, then shimmer through it cleanly. If you got Skyborne Might active, this is one of the best openings to land a charge attack for massive damage before he resets. The next move you need to watch out for is his 5-hit combo, which usually begins the same way as before with a jump and a hand stomp. The cue for this one is very distinct. Ai Nengqi raises both of his hands, keeping the sword in his left, and lifts his left leg before slamming down with both arms and a heavy stomp. That stomp is your warning that the full combo is about to unfold. Immediately after, he'll drive into a delayed uppercut, then chain directly into two horizontal swipes, first from the right, then from the left. As always, dodge the initial jump, but the key here is direction. Always shimmer to the side or behind him when the stomp lands. Dodging backwards will leave you right in front of his next swing, which is the worst possible place to be. Shimmering to the side or behind not only avoids the stomp but also places you in a safer position for what follows. For the delayed uppercut, don't panic and don't rush the dodge. Wait until you see the blade clearly rising from the ground, then shimmer through it. The horizontal swipes that follow come out quickly with no delay, so you'll need to dodge twice in rapid succession to avoid taking damage. Most of the time, Ai Nengqi will jump back immediately after finishing the combo, so resist the urge to charge in right away. Let him reset. The final variation of Ai Nengqi's jump sequence once again begins with a familiar jump and hand stomp, but what follows makes it stand out. After the stomp, he immediately launches into a delayed right hand punch, then chains into consecutive sword swipe, first from the right, then from the left, before finishing with a delayed vertical rotating ground slam. The cue for this version is subtle but important. If it doesn't raise both hands like it does for the fight combo, then the punch is coming, and that's your signal to prepare for the sequence. As usual, dodge to the side to avoid the initial stomp. Once you are clear, stay calm and prepare for the punch. There's a brief delay before it lands, so don't panic. Only shimmer when you see his fist truly driving forward. Immediately after, the two sword swipes come out with no gap between them, meaning you'll need to dodge twice in quick succession to avoid taking damage. Finally, the vertical ground slam comes with more wind up than the rest. Ai Nengqi pulls back, flips once, and then drives his sword straight down. Be patient here and wait until the blade is fully descending before shimmering through the impact. If you endure the entire sequence, you will be rewarded with one of the best punish windows in the fight, as the general is left wide open, recovering from the slam. The final combo you will see in Ai Nengqi's first phase begins with a slow menacing walk. He holds his sword high above his head in his left hand and steadily marches toward you, almost baiting you into reacting too soon. Once he's close enough, he suddenly snaps into a sharp uppercut, punishing anyone who overextends. From here, he transitions into two vertical slams, each delivered with both hands gripping the weapon. Both slams carry a noticeable delay, making them dangerous precisely because they tempt you into dodging too early. The key to surviving this sequence is patience. For the uppercut, you have a few options. The safest approach is simply to keep moving backward to stay out of range. But if you choose to dodge, watch closely for the cue. His right hand lifting just before the strike. That's when you need to input your shimmer. A slightly early dodge here works better than aiming for perfection, letting you pass cleanly through the attack. Once you're past the uppercut, prepare yourself for the double slam. Each one begins with Ai Nengqi raising his sword high, holding for a brief moment, then driving it downward. Don't rush the dodge, wait until the blade truly begins its descent, then shimmer at the last second. The second slam follows the exact same rhythm, so mirror your timing and you'll come out unharmed. What's more, there's actually a small opening between the two slams where you can safely land a quick strike before resetting for the final dodge. With patience and precision, this combo turns from one of his most threatening strings into one of your best chances to punish. Once you have pushed Ai Nengqi's health down to about half, the battle takes on a new life as he transitions into his second phase. The cue is unmistakable. He lowers his right hand to the ground, then suddenly raises both arms high above his head while lifting his right leg. When that leg comes stomping down, he lets out a roar, swinging his arms back wide and sending a blast of snow scattering across the arena. That stomp is your signal. The moment you see his leg crash down, you need to dodge immediately to avoid the shockwave. But the transition doesn't end there. He will always follow with a string of low sweeping attacks that ignite his blade. As the sword catches fire, each sweep sends not just the edge of steel at you but also bursts of fireballs trailing alongside the motion. These swipes come fast and close to the ground, so stay sharp and dodge them cleanly. Don't get greedy here. Once his weapon is fully aflame, he shifts into a ranged assault, drawing his bow and firing multiple arrows high into the sky. They rain down in 3 waves. The first barrage targets your feet, so dodge backward to escape. The second wave falls in a slightly wider circle around you, and this is your chance to dodge inward through the pattern. The third and final wave lands in a larger circle, leaving you safe near the center if you have timed it right. But don't let your guard down after the last barrage. The general doesn't simply reset. He often changes directly into another attack, sometimes a nice-based strike, other times a sudden jump attack. The unpredictability is what makes the transition so dangerous. Always keep your eyes locked on him even while dodging the arrow rain, because his follow-up can catch you off guard if you relax too soon. Once you survive this initiation, phase 2 truly begins, and Ai Nengqi becomes more aggressive, faster, and armed with a host of new combos you'll need to learn to overcome. In his second phase, Ai Nengqi has only one variation of the jump attack, but it's far deadlier than the ones in phase 1. He begins by lifting his flaming sword Ai into the air before launching forward with several rapid flips, closing the gap almost instantly. He crashes down with a heavy sword slam, followed almost immediately by a rising uppercut, and then a delayed forward step into a sweeping 180-degree slash. At times he'll skip the uppercut entirely and go straight into the sweep, making the pattern much harder to predict. The first cue is the sword raise. As he comes sweeping through the air, hold steady and wait until just before the blade actually strikes the ground. Then dodge to the side to avoid the impact. If the uppercut follows, don't panic, watch for the right arm raising. That's the signal, and then dodge as the blade begins to cut upward. Finally, when it transitions into the sweeping slash, remember it comes with a delay. Don't react to the step forward. Instead, wait for the sword to begin swinging in from his left side. Then shimmer through at the last possible instant. Once you evade this sweep, he is briefly open. This is your chance to land a quick combo or even charge up a strong attack before resetting for his next assault. From time to time in phase 2, Ai Nengqi will unleash a fiery variation of the 5-hit combo you first encountered in phase 1. The cue for this version is unmistakable. He raises both hands high, keeps the sword in his left and lifts the right leg before slamming it down with a stomp that shakes the ground. This marks the start of the sequence. He then drives into a delayed uppercut followed by 2 sweeping horizontal slashes, before finishing with another delayed uppercut. Each of these strikes is now deadlier than before, as every swing launches fireballs that scatter across the arena. The safest position during this combo is directly behind him, where the fireballs won't reach. You can dodge through the strikes with carefully timed shimmers, but don't overextend. Those flames can still catch you even if the sword doesn't. If you do get clipped, make sure to recover quickly either by topping off your health or relying on the leech needle to sustain yourself during the fight. The final variation of Ai Nengqi's combos emerges in phase 2 as a relentless 7-hit sword sequence. Think of it as an upgraded version of the 5-hit pattern you faced earlier, now only with 2 extra swings and a much faster tempo. He chains together 7 consecutive circular sword swipes one after the other, leaving little room to breathe. The ideal way to handle this sequence is to slip behind him as it begins. Once he is locked into the chain, he won't pivot quickly, giving you a perfect opportunity to punish from his back while he swings at empty air. If you don't manage to reposition, don't worry, the sequence is still manageable if you commit to the rhythm. Both the 5-hit and 7-hit variations share the same flow. Ai Nengqi raises his sword slightly overhead, holds it briefly and then drives into the swing. That brief pause is your signal. The moment the sword begins to move after the hold, that's when you shimmer. The key is to trust the tempo. Once you dodge the first strike, you can ride the rhythm, shimmering cleanly through each successive swing until the chain ends. If you survive the full flurry, whether by punishing from behind or matching his tempo head on, you will be rewarded with a generous recovery window as he finishes the 7th strike, leaving him open for counterattack. And that's everything you need to know about Ai Nengqi's combos and how to handle them. Once you have mastered these patterns, the fight becomes far more manageable. With that knowledge in hand, it's time to see it all put into practice. Here's the full boss fight in action. Watch closely as the dual blade build absolutely melts the general, transforming one of the most intimidating encounters in Wuchang Fallen Feathers into a fight you can dismantle with precision and patience.